Hey guys, Starcraft and Ingrid here, and well, we're back with more Gammera. As you mind holding it, we got more of the Gammera collections. We're now going to go into the Showa Era, starting with the first movie. Okay, you put it down. Yep, I know that's heavy, but yeah, starting with the first movie, we'll be going over Gamera the Invincible, the AIP edit version of it. That has some American scenes added into it, and from what I understand, also cuts back in the annoying kid. You'll know it when you see it. Yep. And going forward, we're going to be doing throughout the next 8 days, although for us it's going to be 2 days. We're going to be going over all of the Showa Gamera. Their high qualities, their low qualities, and the annoying kids that are going to pop up through so many of them. What are you expecting?
Honestly, I'm here to blow off a little bit of steam. I'm expecting a popcorn flick, not a masterpiece.
Yep, we already watched most of the masterpieces the last time around, so this is where we get into the corniness.
Where we basically go diet Mystery Science Theater on it.
Pretty much, except we're not on screen watching as it goes along. Although, funny enough, Mystery Science Theater would do these.
Oh yes, that's why I brought that up.
Right. And now, for all of these, if there is an AIP edit, we're going to be doing the reviews on those. We're saving the Sandy Franks for when we have no choice, because, let's be honest, the Sandy Franks are, well, they're the ones that Mystery Science Theater went over. So that's the one where you'd be having a kid saying, there'd be no traffic accidents. What's with the traffic accidents? That's a joke in one of the Mystery Science Theater episodes. But, yeah, so we'll see you on the other side of this one. Hey guys, got trouble here with us again. Hey. So yeah, we just finished Gamera the Invincible, and there he goes. Well, you go first.
Honestly, this movie hit different in 2020.
Definitely, especially the Gamera the Invincible, the American version. And you have moments in there where they play it up kind of straight, if campy. But, I mean, I know that sounds weird. How can you play straight but campy? They ask the right questions, like, did you check with the United States? And with the president, we got to do this and that. We got to make sure we check with the United Nations before we take missiles. Things like that. Granted, some of the scenes were pointless in the end. But,
yeah.
But I got to say, the American footage in this was not bad. It was actually very good in trying to get it to fit. Was it as good as Godzilla King of the Monsters? No. But this movie was Gamera being the sole monster. It was good. It actually felt a bit closer to what the Heisei era would do. With one exception, but we'll get to that. But
yeah, there were just honestly some scenes where it's down to earth, where it's just like, hey, we just got a report of this giant turtle thing, and then like the general's immediate reaction is just, I'm gonna need to put on another cup of coffee, which is exactly what I would have done in that scenario.
Exactly. And then while so much of this feels so like, especially when you have this senator who's constantly saying, you're out of order, you don't have no authority. Actually, I have perfect authority. No, you're doing this. That's like, that felt like so much what he did. A senator being this, like, woo, wide-eyed, like, no. Oh, I don't believe in this giant turtle thing. And it's like, and yet we don't see him later on apologize, do we? We see him then just go along with it then. It's like, you were wrong, dude. Admit it. But that was just the American footage. But the stuff was Gammera itself. He's just a lumbering turtle who... Okay, we should get to it. The kid.
Oh, yes, the
Toshio.
elephant in the room.
Toshio. Now, again, we saw the AIP version of it, the English edited version, where they toned him down. This kid, even in the toned down version, is annoying!
Yeah!
Especially near the, we didn't see much of him at first, but near the end when he kept showing up, and everyone's like, kid, get out of here! I want to see Gammera! I want to see Gammera! It's like...
The city is blowing up, kid! What are you doing?
And then he's like, oh, Gammera is just lonely. He's not so bad. He's killed people!
Yeah!
It's like, kid, no, okay, I know he's gonna eventually become the protector of, savior of children going eventually, but at this point, no, he wasn't at all.
It was just some turtle that got released from the ice by apparently an atom bomb, which didn't act like an atom bomb at all.
Even if it was a 1 megaton nuke, it was still like, you see these people at a distance like, oh, look at that, we're not gonna go near it. The blast should have hit you by that point! and at least they said stuff like they're outside the range of the fallout. Okay, they cover their base there.
Sort of.
Sort of, yeah. But the blast still should have gotten them. And, of course, again, the dubbing on this was not bad. It was hokey at times. But for the most part, I'd give it a 8 out of 10.
I was thinking more like a 7 or like a 7.5, somewhere around there.
Not as good as the high-side eras by ADV. Those ones were almost perfect, weren't they? But, now, of course, I gotta say this. Throughout the whole movie, it felt rather reasonable. It felt like, okay, that's fine. Then you get to Plan Z!
Yeah! Where it's just like, okay, what's their plan to finally take down Gammera?
They launch him into space, and then once they launch out, where are they sending him? Mars? We are sending him to Mars. I was joking! Seriously, it's like, it's so ridiculous, but it was so obvious. We're sending him to Mars. It's like, okay, even today we barely have rockets that can get us to Mars. How the hell were they able to do that in the 60s?
Yeah!
And it's just, you just see him come towards this pad, and you're like, what are they gonna do? Lock him up and vape fry him or something? And then once I see the rocket come up, I'm like, what? And that last bit felt way out there, didn't it?
Yeah, it's just like, you did so well, and then you tripped over at the last hurdle. Like, what was that?
I mean, granted, what were they gonna do? I get that, but still, it's like, they just launch him up, and then it's like, to Mars. It's like, yeah. But overall, though, I mean, the effects on this were very good, wouldn't you say? And the acting, again, we watched the dub, so obviously this was, the dialogue was altered to fit with the American footage, but overall still, I thought it was well acted. I thought the American actors were well done, some of which were a bit over the top, but most of them actually played it straight. There's even a point where at the beginning they say that these, there was story where some Russians flew over and the Americans shoot them down. And then later on it's made clear that they got there by accident. And at first you're like one of the other soldiers, like, oh, that's bullshit. But then it's pointing out, no, they would just need 1 for an observation. 4 more than likely means it was an accident. To which I'm like, he's kind of got a point. It's still kind of bad logic, but still it's like, okay, fine. But what did you think about with the effects and how Gammera was in this?
I'd say that considering that keeping like the time era in question, I'd say it was pretty good.
Yep, and compared to how you would later see Gammera, I mean, this is closer to how he is in the high side, wouldn't you say? This lumbering big creature acting on instinct. Yeah, now he saves the kid's life. That's the only really intelligent thing he does in this one. Now, trust me, he ends up being very intelligent as it goes forward, but at this point, he was more like a, where am I? Duh. So, yeah, really, I have nothing else to say to you.
There was one scene close to the beginning when Gammera first started showing up and they were trying to figure out what he was all about, where there was this talk show between these two different academics, one of which was just like, hey, there are legends about this, and the other one is like, that's a lot of BS, and then it just
That felt like today, didn't it?
That felt like like something that would be on the air today, and it's just like, this was supposed to be over the top by 1960 standards, and yet it wouldn't look out of place on the air today.
By the way, one of those actors, Alan Oppenheimer, a.k.a. Skeletor. Now, he doesn't do the voice anywhere in this. This is way before Skeletor, obviously, but he was still so over the top. But the funny thing is, this felt like a feels over reals argument, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Except it felt like this felt like the opposite. Well, no, let me rephrase that. This didn't fully feel like a fact over feels. It felt more like a person who's been more open-minded, and the other one who actually has read stuff, who's open to all like mythologies, and then the other one who's like, no, I am this pompous stuck-up.
No, I am a skeptic on principle. I refuse to accept anything that's outside of a narrow, rational worldview. Rational in air quotes.
Yep, and yet he didn't read the book, some good, legitimate books that the other guy pointed out, like Paradise Lost and all that. It's like, yeah. Then once you have it, but then the more open-minded scientist kind of shoots himself in the foot when he's like, I demand an apology. I'm like, okay, whose side are we supposed to be on? Right? Although then he calls the other one an ignorant ape, but he's like, what did you call me? Did you call me an ape? No, I called you an ignorant ape. That was hilarious. And then eventually you have the main host as being like, well, we'll tune in tomorrow. Maybe we'll have different guests. I'm like, he's thinking, definitely not these two guys again. And these were all the American footage. But again, it was so funny. And from what little we saw a little bit of the Americans that were using the Japanese original while watching the introduction. They were cringy, weren't they? Because basically they were military people stationed in Japan being asked to act. Yeah, it's what you expect. They're like, well, okay.
I don't think that's how method acting works.
No, it's not. You don't do. I mean, I get why that's the cheapest option to go with, but still, at least here though, they were acting. I was impressed you actually had a woman over there and you had a black officer. I mean, again, I know this is the 60s, you were having to have that, but even for back then, that was still pretty progressive.
Yeah.
And especially when he's the one at the very end saying, we did it, yeah! So, yeah, that was Gammera the Invincible. So we'll be back next time for Gammera versus Barugan. We'll see you guys there.